Welcome to this short tutorial on how to export student assessment scores out of Illuminate and import them into PowerTeacher Pro. The first thing I'm going to do is I want to find the assessment that I want to actually export the scores for. So for this example, I created a flexible assessment called PowerTeacher Pro Import Example. Note that you can do this import with other types of assessments also, including hybrids, on-the-fly, flexible assessments, and it also doesn't matter how the students took it. So if they used a bubble sheet and you entered them that way, or if the students took it online, as long as you've got their data, that's all you really need. It won't matter. So for this example, one thing I would suggest that you always look at is make sure you are on the correct assessment. Double check that, because this particular data that you export is not going to have a lot of detail to it, and so you want to just make sure that what you're going to create the report for and export is the correct assessment. You'll have the option to create a report, regardless of whether it's a flexible assessment, whether it's a hybrid assessment. You have that option to create reports. So you want to go to the Reports tab, and you want to build or add a custom report. You want to name that report something that's similar to what if not the exact assessment name, similar to what the assessment name is. So I'm going to call this PowerTeacher Export Example. And I also like to include the date, and this is so I know I have the most accurate information, the most up-to-date information. So I'm going to include the date in that file. I'm going to then copy this name, and I'm going to use that later. It just helps make sure I've got consistency so that my report name is the same as my data file that I'm going to export. Next step is to kind of remove some of these extra pieces of data. We don't need these pieces of data for this export. All we need are the overall points. So I'm going to select that. And I'm going to tell it to build my report. It quickly builds a report, and Illuminate with custom reports, they have some default fields that they will add. You're welcome, if you want to go in and manage those columns and take them out. I wouldn't suggest doing that. That's extra steps that you don't need. So really our next step then is just going to go up to this little piece of paper looking icon, and this is our tab delineated with header row file export. And so I'm going to click on that, and it's going to create a text file for me that's tab delineated and has all the data that I need in it. So I create a folder on my desktop where I put all my imports and exports, and I do that just to try to keep things organized. Just know where you save this file. That's the key. Remember where you save this file so you can grab it when we get to PowerSchool. This is where I'm just going to paste that name in that I had copied, just for consistency reasons, to keep the name of the report and the text file the same. So I'm going to save that file, and I'm done in Illuminate. That's all I had to do in the Illuminate product. So I'm going to go over to PowerTeacher Pro. I obviously need to click the class that I want to import the scores for, and the next thing I need to do is actually create the assignment. So I've pre-created this assignment that I want to import the scores into. So I need to go into that assignment. So there's multiple ways to get in the assignment. You can go to assignment list, or if you're in the score sheet, just click go to assignment. Once I'm in that assignment where I would enter the scores, I then click the cog, and I click input scores. I'm going to browse out and find that file that I just created, and that's why it's nice to kind of have a folder pre-created that you know right where it's at, that you can go right to. I know that this is the file I need because it's got the right date and it's the name that I wanted. So I'm going to open that file. I'm then going to make sure that my format is text and tab delineated. That's extremely important that I select that format of text tab delineated. I don't need to include my first row because with the file that we exported actually had a header row, so I don't want to include that first row, and I don't want to validate student names because I'm actually going to use student numbers, which are more accurate anyway. And then I just need to fill in my score type, which for me it's points, and I'm going to click next. From here, you notice that it brought in the information from that file, and what it's asking me to do is click on a score column. So I need to find which of these columns contains the score. I know that it's not student number, and as I go over here, I'm going to see that while this column isn't named, it's named score 5. If I look, this was the PowerTeacher Pro input example, which was the name of my assessment, and then points. So this was that click that I did a couple screens ago in Illuminate to say export the overall points. So I'm going to pick that as here are the scores that I want you to import. I then just click import, and just like that, there was only 3 examples, but it imported those 3 examples. From there I just save my gradebook, and I'm done.